Welcome to my podcast. My name is Brandon Thomas, if you don't know. Today, we're going to be interviewing Alyma Dorsey. It's going to be interesting to know because she's going to tell us a little bit about her backstory from being an action actress over to becoming a real estate investor. She's actually doing both at the same time. She's actually dual heading both in the process. So we're going to break down what it takes to actually succeed in both fields. I look forward to the story that we're going to share with you today. All right. So, Alyma,
Hi,
welcome.
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been reading a little bit about your IMDb profile, and looks like you have a lot, or I guess a really colorful career. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, where do you want me to start? Is the question. Do you want me to start with stunts or before stunts?
Let's start with before the stunts.
Okay, so I do have a pretty colorful background. I was a professional athlete. I
Mhm.
did the AVP tour in Northern Cal or Southern California.
What is AP?
So professional beach volleyball.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Nice.
before I actually got into stunts, I was trying to become a professional beach volleyball player. So I did the
Really?
tour with the AVP, but only in Southern California. I never went overseas or anything like that.
Hmm.
In 2012, something kind of happened with the AVP and my partners. They went and played overseas.
Hmm.
But Quentin Tarantino, who was one of my friends and sponsors and who I also trained, he was like, yo, why don't you come with me to Louisiana while I film Django? And you can just make sure that I'm eating healthy and I'm still working out. And I was only supposed to be there for 4 months. I ended up being there 7 months. But the last 2 months I was there, I went up to him and I'm like, Q, I could do stunts. And he goes, yes, you can. He introduced me to the stunt coordinator, and I started training with the stunt team. And then 2 months later, I booked The Butler. And then 2 weeks later after that, I booked American Horror Story. And I just never went back to playing beach volleyball. And that's how I actually got into the stunt industry.
Wow. So, I mean, the fact that you actually knew Quentin Tarantino, like,
I still know him. He's a great friend of mine. I love him to death.
wow.
He completely changed my life. He opened up so many doors for me, so
Hmm.
many opportunities for me. And I am where I am today because of him. So I have to give him all the credit.
That's awesome. How did you meet him?
So it's really interesting. So I used to run the training department for Crunch Fitness, and I used to train tons of people. While I was there, I started my own business and I mainly trained celebrities. And so I was known as the celebrity trainer in Hollywood, pretty
Hmm.
much. And so I would actually tour with some of the celebrities that I trained with. I would be on some of their TV shows. I'd actually write articles for different publications, different magazines that would feature how to lose weight or specific goals that people would follow to kind of reach their individual fitness goals. And I also started doing syndications on different news and TV shows where they bring me in as the expert trainer. And so then I would just acquire tons of celebrities as my clients.
Wow.
And I used to train a producer or one of Quentin's producers. And she's the one that actually introduced me to Quentin Tarantino. And we became such good friends. I trained him for several years, maybe 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
And and so I would train him, and I was also pursuing volleyball. So he would pay me, and that payment would go towards my volleyball training.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like how I met him. I was introduced to him by one of his producers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then you met him after you were doing volleyball.
Mhm.
You continued with your movies and your stunt performances. And then what happened next?
Well, I actually was with him with volleyball. Then I discovered stunts through him, and
Oh,
I
okay.
did 11 years later. So I've been in stunts. So it wasn't that such a quick transition. So
Okay.
I've been in stunts for 11 years.
Hmm.
And in those 11 years, I became a stunt coordinator and a second unit director. Um, and then I was on Facebook or maybe YouTube or Instagram one day, and I ran into Pace Morby Jr., who has, he has a sub 2 mentorship, and he also has the Gator Tribe. And so that's how I learned about real estate. But the reason that I was interested in learning more about real estate is because I've always wanted to do real estate, not become an agent, but actually get into real estate investing.
Hmm.
And so I figured this was the easiest way for me to kind of get into it without knowing anything about it. So that's how I stumbled upon real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so what are you trying to do with real estate?
So I am trying to establish passive income with real estate. That's one of the reasons why it means so much to me because, as you know, as a stunt performer, you only get paid when you work. And
Mhm.
we do get residuals, but there's a strike going on right now because of the little residuals that we get. So,
Okay.
the residuals are great, but they can't sustain you. But I've always known that real estate is definitely like the way to go for passive income. Plus, I love the game of real estate,
Right.
trying to help someone reach their goals. And that was one of the reasons why I like Pace Morby, because the way that he teaches you how to utilize real estate is really how you can help someone else get out of whatever situation that they're in, whether it's pre-foreclosure or divorce or needing to move fast or tired landlords. So I knew that this was the space for me because it would be a way that I could not only make passive income, but I could also help other people out of their situation. So that's what struck me about wanting to be a part of this mentorship program and to learn more about real estate through PACE is because I know I'd be able to help other people.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, because normally when people think about real estate investing, they're either thinking about you're a fixer and flipper,
Hmm.
or you're just a buy and hold investor where you're actually becoming a landlord for multiple different properties and you're building in that passive income through that through pretty much the difference between what you're renting at and what your mortgage is at.
Hmm.
Um, so typically speaking, you're not really helping people if you're just renting out to other people. So like, can you explain a little bit more about like what you mean by like helping people in pre foreclosures and actually profiting in that aspect as well?
Absolutely. So I didn't know this before learning about PACE. All I knew was that I wanted to be of service to other people.
Hmm.
And I also knew that real estate was something that could help me make money. When I met Pace and the mentorship group that he has, what I realized is I could help people get out of whatever situation they're in, whether that's a pre foreclosure, whether that's someone that's going through a divorce and needs to sell quickly, whether it's someone that has that's in a distressed situation or has a home that they're unable to sell because of low equity or because the interest rates are too high. Someone who's having a hard time getting a conventional loan. What I learned is that I could actually help them get into a property or get out of a property, but at the same time, make money from that. So it's not like wholesaling in the sense of where you're trying to have buy someone's property from them at 60 or 70% of the dollar. What we actually do is we can actually purchase someone's property at their purchase price
Hmm.
and we can find buyers for them and we can increase the price of the home and whatever the difference is that we're selling that home to that person is, we can actually take that money.
Oh,
So
interesting.
for instance, if someone's home is $500,000, I can purchase their home for $500,000, but I can then find someone and I can sell it to them for $510,000.
Hmm.
And then I would take that $10,000. But at the same time, I'm helping this person who needs to get out of their home, but they're actually getting the purchase price that they want for their home. And I'm getting the extra $10,000. And the buyer is getting a new place that they could either do long-term rentals, short-term rentals, midterm rentals, but they can use that money to make money for themselves. So everyone's making money in this situation.
Nice. Yeah. So it's like a
It's
win-win-win
a
situation.
win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Cool.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Yeah. So like this is pretty much, yeah, creative financing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're utilizing the strategies of subject to or seller finance. And then for those who aren't really familiar with the terms, yeah, subject to is short for the term subject to the existing loan or the existing financing,
Mhm.
where you're actually taking over the mortgage payments of a seller if they do have that low equity situation. And then you could actually help them out in that process by taking over that mortgage. You can still have that assignment fee and then send it to an end buyer who's actually helping out their goals in property acquisition or portfolio development.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Good
And I'm
deal.
excited to do that because I'm brand new to real estate.
Hmm.
So for me, it was the easiest way to get into real estate because I don't necessarily have to use my own money. At some point, when I want to establish passive income and I want to actually purchase homes for myself, then I'll be able to do that either with other people's money or a lower entry fee. And then I can actually keep those homes for myself. And then I can establish passive income for myself in the future.
Right.
So there's several different ways to make money. I can use it as a cash flow, as just way for me to accumulate cash immediately right now, or eventually I could use it for passive income for myself and take those homes and purchase those homes from those people at their interest rate with a lower entry fee, acquire their property, and then I could do what I want with that property, whether that's rent it out to someone else, maybe do an Airbnb, ad split, or keep it for myself.
Right. Yeah. So you have like a short-term money now situation or a solution for yourself, and then you also have a long-term strategy as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Good deal. So how do you find the balancing act between what you do in your stunt career, your Hollywood career, and then also with real estate investing?
The balancing act is really all about marking out time and dedicating specific time to specific things. So the way that I'm able to balance it is I know first thing in the morning, I have a routine of my workout, my training for my stunts. I have a specific amount of time for that. Once that time is over, I know I go into my real estate aspect, and then I can do what I want with my real estate. So it's just time management is really the best way to explain marking out time. You just really have to have good time management.
So what's like a typical day for you? I know like real estate investing, it changes on a day-to-day basis. And I can only imagine what you do on the other side. So like, what's a typical day for you consist of?
So a typical day for me consists of waking up at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
I wake up at around 3 o'clock and then I try to get all of my training in.
What training is this?
It depends on what I'm doing. So I could be racing cars, I could be drifting, I could be horseback riding, I could be fighting, I could be hitting the ground, I could be working on wires, so being set on fire. It just kind of depends on what I'm working on specifically for my next up and coming film or television show. But it's also about staying in shape. So cardio, working out, trainers, all that kind of stuff is involved as well. So I'll try to get in as much as I can in the very beginning of the day. Then I'll switch to real estate from about 9 to 3.
Okay.
And then around 4 o'clock, I go back into my stunt training. So because not everyone is up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to train with stunts. So I do what I can mainly for myself, like my workout, my cardio, everything like that in the morning time. And then in the evening time, I'll go back to it and I'll work on specific things for stunts.
That's awesome.
So, and I'll do that till around 7 or 8 at night. So I'm literally working from about 3 in the morning until about 8 at night.
Yeah, that requires a lot of dedication for sure.
Absolutely.
A lot of dedication and discipline. Because I know there's some mornings where you're waking up and you're like, this ain't it. This
every
ain't
morning. Talk about some mornings, every morning I'm like, oh God. But I love it so much, so that's actually my driving factor. And I have a huge why, which is my mom. So, those things actually pull me out of bed every morning and make me go towards my goals.
Awesome. So I don't want to get too personal, but I mean, like, what's the driving factor with your mom? Like, why do you say that she is the reason why you do the things you do?
Well, I come from a single parent home. I never met my father, and I really saw my mom go above and beyond to make sure I had the best life possible. So I promised her at a young age that when I was able to take care of her, that's exactly what I would do. So when I became financially able to do that, that was my first goal that I had to check off. So for me, taking care of my mom is like the ultimate. That's my goal in life, especially knowing that, she was never married and she did everything on her own. So that's why that's my why. She's always been my why my entire life.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love hearing that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So I guess, you actually, no, I did find out that you actually got a house under contract.
I did.
Yeah.
So, I've been learning real estate investing since April. So maybe going on 5 months. Is today the 4th?
Today is the 3rd.
So tomorrow will be officially 5 months.
Okay.
That I'm learning about real estate investing.
Nice.
So I got my first house under contract maybe a month ago. which is super exciting, you know, because I had, of course, never gotten a house under contract. I
Right.
unfortunately lost that contract because I didn't have enough buyers
Oh, no.
for the contract, which is
Okay.
fine. It's absolutely fine because in this business, you have to fall forward, you know, meaning, you know, it's not going to always go as planned, but you learn from each experience that you have. So all the mistakes that I made on my last contract, I definitely won't make on my new contract. And just learning and speaking to other mentors in our community, not every deal is a good deal. So now, you know, so now I know the difference between what's a good deal versus what isn't a good deal. You know, there's a lot of things that make up a good deal versus not a good deal. So it's not like that black and white, but at least I have more knowledge and ammunition to know like, okay, this is actually a good deal. This will actually work versus just trying to get a house under contract. You know, so in the very beginning, my goal was, let me just get a house under contract. I've never done that before.
Right.
But then I realized there's good deals and there's bad deals.
Right.
Or deals that you should pursue versus ones that you shouldn't.
Right.
So I definitely learned my lesson on that one. And also, I've also learned to reverse engineer and kind of work backwards. And so now my goal is to find the buyers before I actually get something under contract. So I know that I would have someone to dispo that deal to.
Okay.
So yeah, everything's a learning process, and I'm actually okay to fail because I know I learned so much more from that experience, and I actually took action, which, you know, that's always a plus because you're learning through the taking action aspect of it. So it was a complete mindset shift because coming from being an athlete, failure is never an option. In the stunt industry, failure equals death, right? You can die from failing in the stunt industry. So I never understood or was able to fail in those areas.
Right.
But in real estate, I'm learning, or any new field that you're kind of transitioning to, there's going to be some missteps. There's going to be some mishaps. You're not going to be perfect all the time. And so the last 5 months have also been a mindset shift to know that it's okay to fail as long as you've learned something from it and you know how to apply it on your next deal or your next goal, then it's okay.
Right.
So for me, failing actually was great because it put me in contact with a lot of other people that were able to teach me some things that I wouldn't have learned had I gotten the deal or had I completed the deal. So it actually turned out to be a good thing. It actually opened up a lot of doors for me as far as building more relationships with other people that have been in the industry much longer than I have been. And I was actually able to learn a lot from them. So, and with that deal, I lost the contract. But what I did was I made sure to still help the agent find a buyer for the deal so that I was still able to help the client. Because the reason I got into real estate in the first place is to be able to help people through their situations. So the last thing I wanted to do is to leave the seller high and dry, right? Because she was actually going through a divorce and she needed to sell her property. So I didn't want to find an agent, get the agent to believe in me, get the seller to believe in me, and then not be able to find someone to help purchase their property.
Right.
So even though I lost the contract, in good faith, I was able to go back and still help them find someone to purchase the property, regardless of whether I made money on the property or not, because at the end of the day, it was always about helping the client in the first place.
Right.
And if I can make money off of that, wonderful. But if I can help them, even better.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good mentality to have. And I think anybody who's listening to this should actually adopt that same mentality as well. I mean, there's going to be deals left and right. You're going to find them. As long as you're contacting people and talking to people, you will find those deals. But at the end of the day, what you're looking to do is to help those people that you're actually going for. So, like, you're buying these properties because people have a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? And yeah, it just has to be the profitable experience. But at the same time, just like you're talking about, you actually went above and beyond to find a buyer. So like, even though you didn't profit in that experience, you still solved the problem.
Absolutely. And that's really what it's all about. I feel like the more you give, the more you'll receive.
Absolutely.
So I might not have gotten a financial gain in that, but I gained so much more from that experience. I also now have a great relationship with the agent. The agent has over 280 other agents that work for them. So now I have 200 other agents that I could go to that could possibly help me get a deal in the future.
There you
And
go.
because I didn't leave the agent high and dry, and because it was about their client, they now trust me because they know that there's mishaps in the industry. That's why there's contingencies on properties, right? So they know everything is not going to be as smooth as they want it to be. And the fact that he was trusting me in that instance, I wanted to make sure that I didn't let them down or let the seller down.
Right.
And I also wanted to establish a relationship with that agent to possibly do business with them in the future. So even though I wasn't able to actually sell his property when I had it, the fact that we were still able to take care of the client meant everything. And I know we have a good relationship and he'll trust me in the future.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, you have a good heart.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you were not able to get to this experience if you would not have just had faith in yourself and pushed through this process, right? So, like you're talking about, there's a lot of failures that's going to be in any new industry that you're going to have. But, like, for example, your stunt career, you only have one chance.
You only have one chance.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
But this one, yeah, it is a mindset shift that you're talking about to be able to fail forward.
Yep.
So a lot of people think about ready, aim, fire, the adage. But in real estate, it seems like it's more of a ready, fire, aim mentality.
Absolutely.
So you have to like actually go into this, not knowing everything, but be confident within yourself to actually just keep moving forward. Hey, I may not have the solutions right now, or I may not know exactly what I'm doing, but at least I'm getting started. And then through that action taking, you actually find out there are things that you didn't know before that you needed to do, and things that you thought you needed to do
that you didn't do.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So like you only find that out once you're actually moving forward and once you're actually taking action.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's going to be out of your comfort zone. A lot of people listen to these podcasts, or they read a lot of books, or they look at a lot of YouTube videos, and they think, okay, I think I got it. I think I have the core, the things that I need to do. And then when they step out there, they're like, oh, this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point, is even though it may be different, like you still need to actually move forward so that you can find yourself in these positions where you could actually help people out. And then at the same time, eventually profit in that experience. So I do want to take it a little step back. You said it took you a little bit of time to actually find this contract. So like, tell me, like, walk me through, like, what did you actually have to do before you actually found that person that potentially could have benefited you?
So it's all about lead generation. It's all about finding leads. So the way that I find leads is I'm actually, I call sellers directly, and I also call agents directly.
Okay.
On this particular deal, I was calling agents directly, but I was looking for low equity properties in Los Angeles, California. So those were basically people who purchased about less than 3 years ago, who haven't been in their home for a long length of time. They haven't had an opportunity to establish equity, but for some reason, they put their house back on the market and they need to leave and they need to move. And so that's how I was actually able to find this particular property. This property, they had only owned it for a year and 2 months. And I think they purchased it for $570 and they were selling it for $595.
Okay.
So we were able to get the house under contract for $585. And so that's how I actually found this property. I found a person, she was going through a divorce. She needed to sell. It turned out that her husband had cheated on her. And in this particular case, the agent was actually the godfather of their son. So he had personal interest in making sure that his client sold their property and that she actually got some money from it. You know, mind you, she didn't have a lot of equity in the property. So we were trying to give her as much money as she could, especially since she was going through a divorce. So the fact that we were able to purchase her home subject to the existing mortgage, take on that mortgage, we were able to give her a down payment for the property and him a good sizable commission for him being the agent. We were able to get it under a 10% entry fee, which is always what you're looking for with a subject to deal. So we were actually able to do that and then try to find a buyer for that property.
And then how did you find the buyer?
So normally, I know now, which I didn't know before. Well, it's not that I didn't know. There's just different ways you can go about finding a buyer. I wanted to get it under contract first and then try to find a buyer after that because I thought that I had a sufficient buyers list. It turns out I didn't. It turns out that I didn't have enough buyers that I could actually go to for this property. So now my goal is to find the buyers and then try to find something that they're looking for.
Okay.
And then I'll already have buyers for that specific property. Another thing you can do is you can actually JV with someone who has done these deals before and who have buyers already ready, so that you can have someone, already ready to purchase your deal.
Hmm.
I actually did JV with someone.
What does JV mean?
So JV is joint venture.
Okay.
So I JV'd with someone who has been doing real estate for a while now, who was supposed to have buyers in place that would possibly purchase this deal. It just, for this particular deal, it just didn't work out. Like neither one of us had enough buyers for this specific property in Oxnard, California. So I learned my lesson from that. So now my goal every time I'm going out, I'm looking for buyers, people who are purchasing home, and what do you want? What's your specs? What's your buy box? Like, what are you looking for? Where do you want to buy?
Right.
How much do you want to spend? What's your entry fee? Single family, multi-family, like. So now I'm going from a different aspect of like, okay, I have these buyers and this is what they're looking for. And so I go look for properties that I know that I have buyers ready and waiting for.
That's awesome. So then are you looking at like Facebook, or you just talking to people? Like, how are you actually, what is your method in finding new buyers?
So it's interesting because of the community that I'm in. We have buyers in the community. So now I'm reaching out to them more. Trying to find out who's buying where. There's different meetups that I'm now going to as well. And there's also different Facebook groups where there's people that you can find in there that are actually looking for homes. And then there's also like a Facebook marketplace. You can go on there as well where you're looking for like homestead buyers. So people who really aren't able to get conventional loans, they can actually purchase the home via subject to the existing mortgage, because a lot of times there's people with money, but they're just unable to get a conventional loan for whatever reason. So finding homestead buyers or finding buyers in my community, as well as different meetups, different Facebook groups where there are people who are looking for homes. So that's kind of my plan of attack at this moment.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like you learned a lot just from, starting 5 months ago to now.
Absolutely.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's just now starting in this industry, who's looking to get into real estate, doesn't know what to do, where to go? Like, what would you suggest to them?
I would suggest for them to find a great community, and be a part of a mentorship program where you're surrounded by people who've already made the mistakes, so that you don't have to repeat some of those mistakes,
Right.
or people who already have buyers in place, just people who know more than you do.
Yeah.
That's the key, surrounding yourself with people who know more than you do and who have already accomplished the goals that you are trying to accomplish. And you learn from those.
Okay, good deal. So, is there any like books or podcasts or webinars, maybe YouTube videos that you would suggest to them to watch as well?
That's a really tricky question because I don't really read too many books on real estate. I'm just now starting to look at podcasts from different people who are doing what I'm doing, or who have been doing this much longer than me.
What podcasts would those be?
So I've been looking at like RJ Bates.
Okay. Yeah.
People like that. I looked at I watched the Closers Olympics.
Yeah.
So I studied that. And another thing that I've done that I would also suggest with other people is I actually joined a real estate team.
Okay.
And because I'm surrounded and I'm on this team, I'm actually learning all the aspects of real estate. I'm learning about acquisitions. I'm learning how to close deals. I'm learning how to underwrite. And I'm also learning how to dispo. So I have found a way to kind of speed up my learning process by joining a team and being surrounded by people every day, all day long, who are doing the things that I want to do, as opposed to kind of just doing it on my own. And even sometimes being in a mentorship, it's kind of difficult because, you're spread so thin, you're not really sure who to go to, where to go to. There's so many different Zooms to look at. There's just so much content that you're trying to take in that you sometimes get lost in the shuffle of learning versus taking action. So being on a team is something I would definitely suggest for someone who's newer in real estate and just really trying to learn the ins and outs because now I've really surrounded myself on a daily basis with people that I can learn from.
Right.
I can go to with questions, that can actually get on the call with me, that can listen to my calls, give me feedback. And it's more of a one-on-one versus being in a really big community where sometimes you get a chance to ask questions, sometimes you don't. A lot of times you're just listening to other people's problems, trying to figure out how to like associate that with what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
But getting on a team is something I would definitely suggest, especially if you're brand new in the industry, because it just kind of speeds up the whole process and it puts you in the fire,
Right.
you know? So now I have to take action.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I love that because I mean, yeah, you can still do this business by yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to take you a long time to learn from the mistakes that you're making, and you may not even know that you're making mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you join a team, especially if they're established,
Mm-hmm.
you make a mistake, boom, that is cut off immediately. So then you already have like that advantage over somebody who's doing it by themselves.
Yes.
And then at the same time, too, you have access to these buyers. You may even have access to the leads. So, I mean, that just pretty much hyper accelerates you above the competition.
So good. It's so good because being on a team, I don't necessarily have to have buyers.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, let me just say this. I am on a team,
mm-hmm.
but I also have my own personal goals.
Right.
So I'm also trying to establish my own team at the same time. So it's great to be on a team because I'm able to learn everything. But it's even better to be on a team because they're showing me what I should and shouldn't do for my own personal goals and my own personal team.
Mm.
So I love being a part of a team, but I have specific goals that aren't just about working for someone else. I want my own team of people.
Yeah.
So I love being on a team and I think everyone should do it. But my end goal is not to always be on a team. My end goal is to maybe have my own team kind of set and ready to go. And now I'll know what to do, what I shouldn't do. I'll know how to acquire my buyers, how to underwrite when I'm ready for my own team. But it's great to be on this team right now because I don't have to worry about buyers.
Right.
They already have that in place. I just have to make sure that this person is open to selling their home creatively or open to a cash offer. Might be a little bit lower than what they had intended, but if they're in a distressed situation, sometimes that is okay.
Right.
But
as long as it solves the problem.
Absolutely, as long as it solves the problem. But I don't have the stress of also having to find buyers for that particular property as well.
Right. Yeah. So you're using your current team as like a stepping stone. You're gaining as much and you're being a sponge. You're absorbing all the knowledge that you can right now so that you can later duplicate that process and maybe even innovate so that you have a even better team that's working for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yep.
So then how can we as listeners help you achieve your goals?
Oh, wow. How can a listener help me achieve my goal? Well, if you need to sell your property.
I love it.
Or if you're unable to qualify for a conventional loan, you know, if you have low equity or you're just a tired landlord or you're ready to go and you need to sell fast, please contact me.
That's awesome.
I'd love to help you get rid of your property.
So then how can we contact you?
So you can reach me. Should I give you what is it that I should give you? You know, this is my first real podcast about real estate. So
absolutely.
I don't really know what I should give you right now.
Social media handles.
Okay, great. Yeah. So my name's Alyma Dorsey. So you can find me on Instagram, Alyma Dorsey, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is my name. So it's very easy. Alyma Dorsey. That's my name. Perfect. You can reach me just by typing that in anywhere. And everything will pop up that I'm associated with.
Awesome.
Yes.
Good deal. Well, Alyma, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for shedding some light on this and elaborating on what's actually going through with the real estate process. So I look forward to having you as a guest again on my podcast, whenever I decide to name it in the future. So it's fun, for everybody who's listening. I mean, like, you have to start somewhere, right?
You have to start somewhere.
Alyma has graced me with her presence on the very first podcast ever. But there's going to be many more. So I hope to have her on a guest later on when she's super successful and ultra billionaire, and I'm asking her for some money.
Not that part.
We'll get to it. I just got to coerce her a little bit.
I'm going to be asking you for money. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no. So it'll be a pleasure just to see how we both grow in this experience.
I can't
So.
wait until you and I do a deal together.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
I'm
look
looking
forward to
forward
that.
to it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's definitely going to come up pretty soon
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. You know, because right now my whole goal is to assign as many deals as I can.
Mhm.
Well, actually, that's not true. My goal is maybe to assign about 10 deals
Okay.
creatively. And then after that, I want to go and to establish passive income for myself. And I'm hoping to do long-term rentals, midterm rentals, maybe a pad split.
Okay.
Then my next goal is to go into multifamily, and then
Mhm.
after that, assisted living.
Is this all going to be in California?
No, it will not all be in California. I'm open to purchasing properties around across the United States, to be
Okay.
honest with you. So, and eventually I want to go into Costa Rica because
Mm.
that's where I want to retire.
Oh,
So if I
nice.
could actually purchase a home sub 2 in Costa Rica, that's like the ultimate goal of mine. So
Okay,
we'll
great.
see
So
what
if you're in
happens.
Costa Rica and you're looking to sell a
Yeah,
property, contact Alyma Dorsey. We have you
absolutely.
ready.
I'm ready for you.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, yeah, once again, I thank you for your time and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Awesome, you too.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.